Hi, I'm Mia Wengen. I blog at Pragmatic Mom, and today I'm going to spend a few minutes just talking about some of my favorite diversity books that I've come across and read this year.
Starts off, it's sort of written in like, it's almost like nonfiction free verse, in that it looks like free verse and it is free verse, but it reads more as kind of straightforward prose than sort of poetic, poetry. Um, but each chapter tells Fred Korematsu's story. Like in this chapter, it talks about him going to the barber for the first time to get a haircut, like kind of a cool haircut. But the barbers and even the restaurants in his area, which is Oakland, California, refuse to serve someone who's Asian American. And then there's actually these really great sort of spreads that give full context to the period and background of what Fred Korematsu went through. So you have sort of these alternating chapters of story and then background, and some, sort of really interesting points. My takeaway for this book is that basically, if you read all the details of this book, you sort of realize there's a single person can really make a difference. And in this case, Fred Korematsu, for standing up against Japanese internment just for being Japanese American, fought a fight in kind of complete isolation from his peers and his fellow Japanese Americans, and really wasn't exonerated for more than 40 years. So that's sort of the story of an ordinary person being a civil rights hero. But then on the flip side, there's also this interesting backstory of how U.S. government attorneys, lied during his trial, and that also came to light, years and years later, and that sort of was the reason why his case was reopened and he was exonerated. But it was just a single person, a single attorney, for the most part, who hid evidence that Japanese Americans, were not spies, and in fact gave the opposite report, even though the FBI research showed the opposite. And so anyway, I also want to highlight that Fred Korematsu has his own day, January 30th. And
So then I also wanted to bring up this really great new series, Jasmine Toguchi by Debbi Michiko Florence. This is an early chapter book series. 4 books are out, and it depicts kind of a spunky young Japanese American who kind of goes through your typical problems that kids of that age have, friendship issues, sibling issues. But what's so great about this series is that it's sort of pitch perfect written from start to end. But it also includes, just sort of in the background, Japanese culture. And, what is really interesting is that, there are almost no children's books with Japanese Americans that are not related to World War II Japanese internment. And so I feel like this is a really important series just to show Japanese Americans, sort of in everyday life with, your typical family life and friendship issues, but written in a really engaging way for an audience of, ages 6 and up. And this series would appeal to anyone who likes the Clementine series, or Ivy and Bean. So Susan Tan has 2 books out. Her Cilla Lee-Jenkins. She herself is mixed race, half Chinese American and half Caucasian, and her character is as well. And this is a middle grade chapter book for ages 8 and up. And what is so great about this series is it's hilariously funny. Just the way that Susan Tan writes is really engaging and very, very humorous. But she also mixes, which, none of the reviews really reveal it, but she sort of mixes in these very subtle microaggression towards Asian Americans or even mixed race Americans, and just kind of throws it out there without comment, letting the audience kind of draw their own conclusions. And I think it's really powerful the way she does it, but kids will love it because this is a really engaging character, and this book is just so funny. A Different Pond. I have it on my sort of list for Caldecott as sort of an outlier. The reason why I love this book is, there's just very few books about kind of the dignity of poverty. And in this case, this family, they are new immigrants to the United States, most likely escaped, kind of, terrible circumstances. And the family has to work. I mean, the dad works 2 or 3 jobs, the mother works on the weekends. This young boy gets up in the middle of the night to fish with his father, because that's kind of the only time he has with his father. And they are not fishing for recreation. They are fishing for the family dinner, which is an extended family that includes grandparents. And sort of in their travels, you have a Hmong man, which, there's so few Hmongs in children's books. And, sort of here's a black man as well. And they're all fishing for different reasons. And, this boy also, as part of his family responsibility, when his parents are at work on the weekends, he'll take care of his siblings. And it's sort of, there's sort of no complaints about, sort of the difficulty of life or the challenges that it brings. It's all about this quiet dignity of coming to a new country and just working very hard, and sort of gratitude for a place where they have the opportunity to, not live, in war or other terrible circumstances. And yeah, I really love this book. I think this is a really important book, Crown, an Ode to the Fresh Cut. And part of it is, it's just because it's really a beautiful, the illustrations are beautiful. And the story is really about this, barbershop experience. But what I really love about this book is it just sort of, brings dignity and kind of understanding of, here are some strong African-American men kind of doing, ordinary things, getting their hair cut, bonding with people at the barbershop. And it just, I feel like it combats a lot of the negative stereotypes of African-American men. It kind of gives pride to young boys, both for a really cool haircut and just that, here are some, everyday wonderful role models in his life.